Google Reader. Google Reader launched in 2005 as an RSS reader, a tool that let users subscribe to any website or blog and receive new content in a single organized feed, without algorithms, without advertising, without someone else deciding what you saw. You chose your sources. You saw everything they published, in the order they published it. By 2013, Reader had millions of active users and was the primary RSS client for much of the journalistic and technical community. In March 2013, Google announced it was shutting Reader down as part of a spring cleaning initiative to reduce the number of products the company maintained. The stated reason: declining usage. The actual situation, as later described by engineers who worked on the product, Reader had been starved of resources for years, with management repeatedly attempting to shut it down while the small team kept it alive. The shutdown came 6 months after Google launched Google+, its attempt to compete with Facebook. Keeping users inside Google+ required directing their attention there, not to an open, algorithm-free web. When Reader closed on July 1, 2013, the independent RSS ecosystem effectively collapsed. Reader had dominated the market so completely that alternative RSS readers had atrophied. Feedly gained 3 million new users in weeks, but the casual mainstream user didn't migrate. They opened Twitter instead. The shift that followed was not subtle. Web traffic that had previously flowed directly from readers to publishers began flowing through social media platforms. Facebook and Twitter filled the vacuum, and with it, they took control of what content surfaced, in what order, for what reason. The user-controlled, algorithm-free news experience that RSS represented became a niche tool for enthusiasts. The algorithmic feed became the default for everyone else. Developer Marco Arment wrote at the time, "Google Reader is just the latest casualty of the war that Facebook started. The battle to own everything. The internet you use today, where your news is curated by platforms for engagement rather than chosen by you for relevance, is in part a consequence of a single Google product decision made in March 2013. Google Wave. Google Wave was announced at Google I/O in May 2009 and generated more excitement than almost any Google product before or since. The demo, delivered live by Lars Rasmussen over 80 minutes, showed real-time collaborative editing, threaded conversations, live typing visible to all participants simultaneously, and embeddable content in a single interface. The audience applause at the I/O keynote was audible enough to fill the room multiple times. Wave was trying to answer a question nobody had fully articulated yet. What if email, documents, and chat were the same thing? The answer it gave was technically extraordinary. In 2009, Wave could do things that Slack, Google Docs, and Notion would eventually make mainstream. Watching someone type in real time, replaying a conversation from the beginning to see how it evolved, embedding interactive content inside a message thread. Google opened Wave to 100,000 users by invitation in September 2009. The response from those users: confusion, followed by enthusiasm, followed by the discovery that nobody else they knew was on Wave. Google killed it in August 2010, 14 months after launch, citing low adoption. The reason adoption was low was that Wave was nearly impossible to explain. What is it? Was the question it couldn't answer in a sentence. The demos were extraordinary. The onboarding was non-existent. Users arrived, found an empty inbox, and had nobody to wave with. The network effect problem destroyed it before the technology could demonstrate its value. The specific Wave feature that still does not exist in any mainstream tool in 2026, playback. Wave allowed you to replay any conversation from the beginning and watch it reconstruct in real time. Every edit, every addition, every deletion visible in sequence. It was a complete history of collaborative thought, made navigable. No product has shipped this in the 15 years since Wave was canceled. What Wave described became the foundation of everything Google built afterward: Docs, Meet, Chat, and everything the rest of the industry built in the following decade. It was killed before most people understood what it was. Google Inbox. Google Inbox launched in 2014 as an invite-only rethinking of what a Gmail client could be. Email arrived in bundles: travel, purchases, updates, grouped intelligently so you saw what mattered without wading through what didn't. Emails could be snoozed to return at a specific time or location. Smart replies appeared before Google added them to Gmail. Reminders could be attached directly to emails, surfacing when you were at a relevant location. A flight confirmation email would automatically surface your boarding pass when you were near the airport without any additional input. Inbox was not a different interface for Gmail. It was a different philosophy about what communication software should do. The team that built it was eventually absorbed into the core Gmail product. Features were migrated, bundling, snoozing, smart replies, smart compose. The coherent product vision was not. Gmail in 2026 still cannot attach a location-based reminder to an email. Inbox did this in 2014. The people who used Inbox and had to return to Gmail after its closure in 2019 described the experience consistently as a downgrade. The product was killed not because it failed. It was critically acclaimed and had a dedicated user base, but because Google decided it was creating fragmentation within its own email ecosystem. The cure for the fragmentation was to shut down the better product rather than migrate its users. Google Latitude. Google Latitude launched in 2009 as a standalone location sharing application. It let you share your real-time location with specific contacts permanently and passively. No check-ins, no posts, just continuous mutual visibility for people who chose to share it. Apple launched Find My Friends in 2011, 2 years later, and it became a mainstream consumer feature embedded across hundreds of millions of devices. Google Latitude was killed in 2013 and replaced by location sharing buried inside Google Maps. The burial is the story. Latitude was a dedicated application with a specific purpose, a clear interface, and an identity. What replaced it requires knowing to navigate to someone's contact card inside a mapping application, locate a button that isn't prominently labeled, and initiate sharing through a process that most users never find. Google invented the real-time location sharing category in 2009. Apple mainstreamed it with Find My in 2011. Google deprecated their own product in the same year Apple's version launched. The category Google pioneered is now considered an Apple feature. Google Stadia. Stadia was Google's cloud gaming platform. Stream any game on any screen with no console required. The technical execution was largely impressive. The business model was not. Stadia asked users to buy games at full retail price on a platform that Google had given no credible long-term commitment to. In September 2022, Google announced Stadia was shutting down. The question, what happens to my purchases when Google kills this? Which had always existed quietly for Google products, became explicit and permanent in that moment. Every subscription, every app purchase, every cloud tool, every Google product you use today, you use with that question now, active in a way it was not before. September 2022. Stadia's shutdown didn't damage Google's relationship with its users because of the money. It damaged that relationship because it made the underlying risk of building on Google's infrastructure impossible to ignore. The Google graveyard had existed for years. Stadia made everyone actually read it. To its credit, Google's shutdown announcement included full refunds for all hardware and software purchases from day one. More complete protection than most platform shutdowns in the industry. The refunds were good. The reason they were necessary is the problem. Google Allo. Google has launched and killed more messaging applications than any major technology company in history. The Verge maintains a dedicated tracker called the Google Messaging Graveyard. The count, as of 2026, over 15 messaging products in various states of life, limited functionality, or confirmed death. Google Talk, Google Buzz, Hangouts, Allo, Duo, Google Chat, Google Messages. Each one was announced as the future. Each one was either killed or restructured into something that didn't replace what came before. Allo was the one that came closest to working. It launched in September 2016 with Google Assistant built in before AI assistants were a standard feature, end-to-end encryption, and genuinely thoughtful design in ways that WhatsApp hadn't addressed. It failed for reasons that had nothing to do with the product itself. Allo launched without SMS support, meaning it couldn't replace your existing messaging app, only add to it. You still needed a separate app to text someone who wasn't on Allo. It didn't import contacts from other platforms. And Google simultaneously continued running Hangouts, their existing messaging platform with hundreds of millions of existing users. Without directing those users to Allo, they ran two competing messaging apps simultaneously, split their existing user base, and built neither to the scale that could have competed with WhatsApp. The fundamental problem was never the individual apps. It was that Google was unable to commit to a single messaging product long enough to build the network effect that makes messaging apps valuable. WhatsApp built its dominance by being exactly one thing for exactly one purpose and never changing that core. Google built its messaging failure by being too many things, none of them sufficiently for long enough, and walking away before any of them reached critical mass. Google Authorship. Google Authorship attached a verified identity to web content. When you searched for an article, the author's name, photo, and Google Plus profile appeared alongside it. The intent: let readers evaluate credibility by knowing who wrote something, not just where it was published. Early SEO studies showed authorship markup increased click-through rates for results where it appeared. Google killed it in August 2014. The official reason: low adoption rates and implementation complexity. Google's own testing suggested the CTR benefit was smaller than early studies indicated. The reason to discuss it in 2026 is not the 2014 decision. It is what the 2024 and 2025 internet looks like without it. AI-generated articles now constitute a significant and growing share of web content. The ability to verify that a piece of content was written by a specific, identifiable human being, with a track record, a publishing history, a professional identity, is one of the most commercially valuable trust signals that could exist in search results. Google had the infrastructure for this in 2011. It required rebuilding it from scratch, a process Google has been working on through its EEAT guidelines and author entity recognition, more than a decade after abandoning the original implementation. Verified human authorship attached to search results would have been one of the most valuable tools available for identifying authentic content in the AI era. Google killed it before the problem it could have solved became the problem it has become. Picasa. Picasa launched in 2002 and was acquired by Google in 2004. Its face recognition in 2006, scanning your entire local photo library and grouping images by person automatically, was a decade ahead of when this became standard. Google killed Picasa in 2016 and replaced it with Google Photos. Google Photos is a better product by most measures. Smarter search, better mobile integration, more storage options. The specific thing it does not do: manage photos stored locally on your computer without uploading them. Picasa worked entirely offline. It organized files on your hard drive, grouped them by face, allowed editing and sharing without a cloud account, and left your files exactly where they were. Google Photos' core function is cloud upload. For users in regions with limited bandwidth, for users with legitimate privacy concerns about uploading personal photographs to a corporate server, and for users who simply wanted to manage their own files on their own machine, Picasa's local-first approach was genuinely irreplaceable. The community that maintains unofficial Picasa installations on modern Windows, keeping a decade-old application running through compatibility layers, is the clearest signal of what was abandoned when local photo management stopped being a product category Google supported. Google Helpouts. Google Helpouts launched in November 2013 as a marketplace connecting verified experts with people who needed help. Doctors, lawyers, tutors, mechanics, fitness trainers, teachers, through Google Hangouts video calls, with payment processed through Google Wallet. Everything was integrated: the video call, the payment, the identity verification, the scheduling, the reviews. You searched for guitar lessons or legal advice on a contract, or help with my sourdough starter, found verified providers, booked a video session, and paid, all inside one Google product. Google killed it in April 2015, 18 months after launch, citing insufficient demand. 18 months was not long enough to build a marketplace. Marketplaces require both supply and demand to reach critical mass simultaneously. Building the supply side, recruiting, verifying, and onboarding expert providers across dozens of categories takes years. Google gave Helpouts 18 months and declared it a failure. In August 2015, 4 months after Helpouts closed, Upwork went public. The expert marketplace and gig economy platform category that Google abandoned in 2015 is now collectively worth billions. Clarity.fm, Just Answer, Maven, and dozens of similar platforms now dominate the paid expert consultation market, a market Google had first mover advantage in, fully integrated with its own infrastructure, and walked away from before it reached the tipping point. Whether Helpouts would have succeeded with more time and more investment is a genuine question. That the market it addressed became enormous is not. iGoogle. iGoogle let you build a completely personalized start page. Your own RSS feeds, weather, Gmail, Google News, stock prices, YouTube, all arranged in widgets exactly where you wanted them. It was the personal information dashboard before dashboard was a product category. In 2005, this was genuinely novel. Google killed it in 2013. The reason given: the shift to mobile meant personalized desktop start pages were becoming irrelevant. What followed? The entire personal productivity software industry spent the next decade building exactly what iGoogle had done. Notion, Obsidian, Coda, and every build-your-own workspace tool that emerged in the 2020s was building a more sophisticated version of iGoogle's core concept: personal, modular, arranged by the user rather than by an algorithm. Google exited that category in 2013. The startups that entered it afterward were worth billions by 2022. The pattern. Every product on this list had users. Most of them had passionate, dedicated users who had built workflows around them. None of them were replaced by something better in every way. All of them were replaced by something more strategically convenient for Google. The Google graveyard exists because Google's model requires experimentation, and experimentation requires accepting failure. The legitimate criticism is not that Google kills products. The legitimate criticism is that Google kills products that aren't failing, and that users who adopt those products have no protection from that decision. There is no Google product that cannot be on this list in 5 years. That is not speculation. It is the documented history of how Google operates. Microsoft has an equally long list. Every feature Microsoft removed that Windows users are still angry about, it is on screen right now.